We're the place that takes that big stack of information, digs through it, and pulls out what you really need to know.
That's the goal.
Today, we're tackling something we all deal with, maybe without much thought sometimes. Privacy policies.
The infamous click-through agreements.
Exactly. And specifically, we're pulling back the curtain on a platform called Fanbase and how they handle your personal data. We've got the Fanbase Privacy and Data Practices document right here. And our mission, well, it's always the same. Find those crucial bits of insight.
The things that actually matter.
Yeah, the surprising stuff, the hidden bits, what it really means for you. Get ready because, what we find might just make you pause before you next click accept.
Indeed. It's so easy to just breeze past these documents, isn't it? But they really are the rulebook for your digital self on that specific platform.
Rulebook, I like that.
And this deep dive, it isn't just about reading the fine print out loud. It's about understanding the whole landscape, the data collection, the sharing, and importantly, what control you genuinely have.
Right, your actual control in the Fanbase world.
Precisely, within the Fanbase ecosystem.
Okay, let's jump right in then. There's this feature, Fanbase Audio. Seems pretty cool, right? Drop into chat rooms, join conversations.
A way to connect, yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting, like right off the bat. Fanbase says they make and temporarily store audio recordings while the room's open.
Okay.
But then they retain them even after it closes.
And that retention is key. But there's another layer that's even more critical, I think.
What's that?
The policy is very clear. These recordings are not considered confidential.
Not confidential. Okay, unpack that. What does that mean in practice?
Well, it fundamentally changes the nature of the conversation, doesn't it? It means legally you have no inherent expectation of privacy in those chat rooms.
So even if it feels like a private chat with friends, legally it's not.
Exactly. Imagine you're talking about, I don't know, a sensitive work thing or personal health stuff or just venting. The policy strips away the legal assumption of privacy.
Wow. Okay, so they're recorded, stored, and not private. What happens to these recordings then? Do they just sit in a vault?
Not necessarily. They can be used quite broadly. The policy says recordings can be disclosed to anyone else in the chat room or, get this, to other third parties for any purpose.
For any purpose. That sounds incredibly wide.
It is, and also to governmental agencies if legally required. Now, they do say the audio is encrypted when stored. That's a security measure.
And the encryption is good.
But they also reserve the right to transcribe these recordings.
Turn the audio into text.
Right, and once it's text, those transcriptions can be used, retained, and disclosed in the exact same way as the original audio.
So your voice and the words themselves become data points they can use pretty freely.
Very versatile data points. And just by walking into that virtual chat room door,
you're agreeing to all of it. The recording, the use, the transcription, the potential sharing.
That's what the policy states. Consent is implicit upon entry. Now, they do say they don't actively monitor the rooms, but there is a report button. If someone reports an incident, Fanbase will review, investigate, and can take action. Suspension, banning, that sort of thing.
So not actively listening all the time, but they can listen if triggered.
Exactly. There's a mechanism for scrutiny.
Okay, so the big takeaway here seems to be your voice in Fanbase Audio isn't just sound floating away. It's data. Recorded, kept, transcribed, potentially shared widely.
Makes you think twice, doesn't it, before you jump into certain conversations?
Definitely. Your casual chat could become documented data. Okay, that's active participation. What about the more background stuff? The invisible ways platforms track us.
Ah, yes, the plugins.
Social media plugins, those little like or share buttons, we see them everywhere. Fanbase uses them. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, the list goes on.
And the social login option, too, signing in with Facebook, for example.
Super convenient, right. But how do these little buttons and login options quietly gather our data?
This is where those invisible connections really happen. You might think a like button is just, a static image until you click it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's not. If we look at the bigger picture, just loading a Fanbase page with a Facebook plugin creates a direct connection from your browser straight to Facebook's server.
Wait, just loading the page? Even if I don't click the button?
That's right. Your browser essentially says, hey, Facebook, I'm looking at this Fanbase page. So Facebook can potentially log your IP address, know you visited Fanbase, even if you do nothing else. It's background chatter.
Wow. Okay, that's surprising.
And then if you do click that like button while you're logged into Facebook,
It links the fan base content to my profile.
exactly, it tells Facebook this specific user liked this specific thing on Fanbase. Now, what's interesting is Fanbase states they don't get notified about the specifics of that data transfer to Facebook.
So the data flows directly from my browser to Facebook, kind of bypassing fan base in that moment.
For that specific interaction, often yes. Fanbase provides the space for the button, but the data transmission regarding the like itself goes to the social media platform.
So it's not just fan base collecting data about my fan base use, it's potentially Facebook or Twitter too. Is there a way to stop that specific tracking?
Well, the policy actually gives a tip. If you don't want, say, Facebook to link your Fanbase visit directly to your Facebook account,
What do I do?
you have to log out of your Facebook account before you visit Fanbase.
Ah, okay. So it requires an extra step from the user.
It does. And think about using social login too. Super convenient. But when you sign in via Facebook, you're explicitly authorizing Fanbase to access potentially a lot of your Facebook profile info.
Like what kind of info?
Things like your public profile details, name, picture, consistent with your Facebook privacy settings, of course, but also potentially email, interests, likes, gender, birthday, even your friend list.
My friend list. Wow.
Oh, yes, and potentially common friends you share with other Fanbase users.
So that little like button or the easy login, it's like opening a door for data sharing in the background.
A whole web of data sharing, often happening silently. It really shows how connected everything is online.
And that you're not just dealing with fan base's policy, but Facebook's, Twitter's, all of them simultaneously.
Exactly. Your social media choices echo across other sites.
Okay, we've talked about audio chats, we've talked about social plugins. Let's broaden out. Who else gets to see your data? The policy has a section, how we share your information.
This is often where the biggest eye-openers are.
And it starts with a pretty bold statement. Fanbase may disclose, rent, or sell your personal information. That phrase, rent or sell, that sounds pretty significant.
It is significant language. It signals a very broad potential for how your data might move beyond Fanbase itself.
So who are they sharing with? Or renting or selling to?
Oh, policy lists a whole network. Some are expected, like hosting providers for storage, payment processors for transactions.
And nuts and bolts stuff.
Right, but then it gets broader. They list learning technology providers, identity management providers, database software providers, legal consultants.
Okay, still sounds somewhat operational.
But then we get to marketing providers. And there's a specific call-out here. They share with providers who send communications for Fanbase, sure, but also providers who may sell mailing lists.
Sell mailing lists. So my email address or contact info could end up on a list sold by someone else.
That's what the language implies, and it goes further. Unrelated third-party list renters for one-time mail or email approved by us.
Unrelated third parties renting my info for a one-time email blast.
That's the potential scenario outlined. So your contact details could circulate in the wider marketing world with companies you've never even interacted with.
That's definitely an aha moment. It's not just fan-based marketing to me. My data might be powering other companies' marketing too.
Precisely. It shows participation in the larger data broker economy, potentially. Beyond that, there's the standard sharing with service providers for things like data analysis, customer support, order fulfillment. These guys are usually bound by confidentiality and are supposed to only use the data for Fanbase's purposes. But Fanbase also mentions sharing de-identified information, anonymous usage data, IP addresses, click patterns with third parties to help them understand usage patterns.
So even anonymized, it's still useful data for others.
It contributes to bigger data sets for tracking trends, market research, that kind of thing.
And what if I join, say, a contest on Fanbase run by another company?
Good question. If you participate in something like that involving a third-party provider, you're giving that provider permission to use your info for the event and potentially other things they might ask consent for.
And Fanbase says, I can't control what that third party does with it.
The policy advises users they cannot control those third parties' use of information and suggests you can simply choose not to participate if you're uncomfortable.
Makes sense. Buyer beware, essentially.
And finally, of course, they'll disclose personal information if required by law subpoenas, court orders, government requests. They do say they'll try to notify you.
Try.
Yeah, attempt to notify you unless the law prevents it, or if notifying you would be pointless, ineffective, create risk, or increase fraud chances.
Okay, so lots of sharing, some necessary, some for operations, but a definite chunk for marketing. potentially including selling or renting lists. That paints a pretty wide picture of where your data can go.
It's an extensive ecosystem.
All right, so this data is being collected, used, shared, but where does it physically, live? And how safe is it, especially if it's crossing borders? Let's look at data transfer access outside of the United States.
This brings up jurisdiction, which is really important. Fanbase HQ is in the U.S., but your personal info might be stored and processed on servers inside the U.S. or outside the U.S.
Anywhere in the world, basically.
Wherever Fanbase and its service providers have facilities. So yes, potentially globally.
And the implication there is?
The key implication is your data could land in a country that doesn't have the same level of data protection laws as your home country.
So if I'm in, say, Europe with GDPR, my data might end up somewhere with weaker privacy rules.
That's the possibility. Fanbase says they'll take reasonable steps for adequate protection, and specifically for UK, EEA, or Swiss residents, they aim for GDPR-level protection for transfers outside those areas.
But for everyone else?
For anyone not living in the U.S., the policy states that by using the service, you acknowledge and expressly consent to Fanbase collecting, transmitting, and storing your personal information outside your country of residence.
That's a big consent to just sort of bundle into using the app.
It is. It's often buried in the terms you agree to.
Okay, what about security? What measures do they actually take?
They mention implementing measures to secure data-secured networks, firewalls, limiting access to personnel. They say the mobile app is scanned regularly for vulnerabilities. Standard stuff, really.
I feel a bug coming.
Well, the policy is very direct here. It says the safety and security of your information also depends on you.
Ah, the shared responsibility model.
Exactly. It emphasizes your role.
What does that mean for me, the user?
It means keeping your password secret, locking down your device, signing out properly. They point out that if your email gets hacked or your Facebook account used for login gets compromised, someone could potentially access your Fanbase account too.
Right, the interconnectedness again.
And they stress you should change credentials if you suspect a compromise. Plus, a very important point, Fanbase states they will never email you asking for your password or other login details.
Good tip. Watch out for phishing scams.
Definitely. But then comes the big caveat.
Let me guess. The internet isn't 100% secure.
You got it. Unfortunately, the transmission of information via the internet is not completely secure. They state they cannot guarantee the security of data transmitted to them.
So despite their measures...
Any transmission of personal information is at your own risk. That's the direct quote.
Wow. At your own risk.
And they add, they're not responsible if someone circumvents their privacy settings or security measures.
That really puts the onus back on the user, doesn't it? While they have defenses, you're ultimately accepting the inherent risk of sending data online, especially globally. Your own vigilance is critical.
It's a stark reminder of the limits of digital security guarantees.
Okay, so given all this collection, sharing, global transfer, and risk, what actual control do you have? Can you see your data? Change it, delete it. What about specific rights like GDPR or CCPA?
Right, let's talk user control. First up, data retention. How long do they keep your stuff?
Yeah, if I delete my account, is it gone?
Not necessarily immediately or completely. Fanbase says they keep your personal information as long as your account is active or you're registered or, and this is vague, for another legitimate business purpose.
Legitimate business purpose. And this retention period can be reviewed and changed by them. Crucially, after you terminate your account, they may retain profile info and public posts. And they also have the right to delete all your data after termination without notice. So they might keep some, they might delete it all, and they don't have to tell me if they delete it.
That seems to be the gist. They have the option to retain some things and the right to delete without necessarily informing you.
Okay, what about making changes while my account is active? Or requesting deletion?
You can usually access and edit some info name, password, email, profile details through your account settings. What exactly you can change might, well, change over time. For a full account deletion request, you typically need to email their support.
And opting out of emails.
You can opt out of promotional messages like newsletters or special offers, using unsubscribe links or contacting them. But remember, you generally cannot opt out of essential service-related emails if you want to keep using the service.
Makes sense. Okay, now the specific regional laws, like for California.
Yes, the CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act. Fanbase acknowledges this and lists the extensive categories of personal information they collect, which we've touched on: identifiers, financial info, demographics like age, gender, commercial history, internet activity, location, audiovisual, professional info, education, and even inferences drawn from all that to create a profile about you.
So they're building a picture of you based on the data.
Essentially, yes.
Yep.
And they state the sources are broad to you, public databases, social media, even people you're connected to on social media.
Wow. Okay. And what rights does CCPA give Californians?
Key rights include the right to know what specific pieces of information they've collected about you in the last 12 months, the sources, the purpose, and who they shared it with. The right to request deletion of your personal information. And the right to request correction of inaccurate info.
How do you exercise those rights?
You contact their support email, support@fanbase.app, according to the policy. And importantly, Fanbase can't discriminate against you for using these rights. They also state, for the record, that they have not sold personal information as defined under CCPA, except potentially during mergers or bankruptcy.
Okay, that not sold definition under CCPA is specific, but good to know their stance.
Yeah.
What about Europe? GDPR.
Right. For residents in the UK, the European Economic Area, and Switzerland, GDPR applies. Fanbase states they process data according to GDPR and act as a data controller or data processor.
And GDPR rights are pretty strong, right?
They are quite comprehensive, yes. You have the right to access, get confirmation they're processing your data, and get a copy, often machine readable. Right to rectification, correct mistakes in your data. Right to erasure, request deletion, the right to be forgotten, with some exceptions. Right to strict processing, limit how they use your data, though they might still store it. Right to object, this is a big one. You can object to processing based on legitimate interests, direct marketing, or research. You can essentially say, stop using my data for this purpose. Right to data portability. Get your data in a common format to potentially move it elsewhere. Right to complaint. File a complaint with your local data protection authority. Right to withdraw consent. Take back your permission at any time, though it doesn't undo past processing.
That's a powerful toolkit for users in those regions.
It really is. It gives individuals significant leverage over their personal data.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to digest. From data retention quirks to these really specific rights under CCPA and GDPR, it's clear that whether you're in California, Europe, or anywhere else, you need to understand these details to manage your digital footprint.
Absolutely. And deleting your account is rarely a simple magic wand for your data.
So what an illuminating deep dive, truly.
Yeah.
We've seen how basically everything you do on a platform like Fanbase, from your voice in a chat, which isn't private, to just browsing near a social media button,
creating those hidden trails,
to your core personal info, which might be rented or sold.
Yeah.
It's all collected, used, shared, stored, often in ways you wouldn't immediately guess.
And if we step back and look at the big picture, it just underscores that these privacy policies, they're not just legal mumbo-jumbo.
Yeah.
They're operational manuals for your personal data. They tell you how the machine works. Understanding them, even the basics, gives you, the user, power.
Power to make informed choices.
Exactly. It provides a much clearer view of the digital world you're walking through every single day.
So the final thought for you listening right now, as you move through this digital world, maybe ask yourself, given how data can be collected and shared, sometimes quite widely, how much of your personal self are you really comfortable putting out there or implicitly agreeing to have shared? And maybe think about what small steps you could take, maybe changing how you use social logins, being more mindful in those chat rooms, or perhaps actually looking into and exercising those CCPA or GDPR rights if they apply to you.
Small actions can make a difference in protecting that digital self.
Maybe the next time you see that accept button, you'll pause. Maybe you'll understand a bit more about what's happening behind the click. Or maybe you'll even dive into the settings first.
Food for thought. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.